Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review. Today we're checking out a brand new weapon mod known as the Institute EM Rifle by Mikolov. Now, the Institute EM Rifle, otherwise known as the Institute Electromagnetic Rifle, is going to be a new take on a ballistic weapon for the Institute. And what better way to implement a ballistic weapon than a Gauss rifle? And this is going to be very, very different from the vanilla Gauss rifle. This isn't going to be a very huge weapon that has to charge up. This is going to be much more advanced as it is from the Institute. This thing's going to function pretty much like an assault rifle. It's going to be mag fed, and it's going to have a lot of customizability at the weapons workbench that allows it to perform much, much better than the vanilla Gauss rifle. This thing can get up to some pretty nice damages, but it also has the versatility of being able to go into full auto, equip any number of scopes and muzzle attachments to make this thing perform even better. Now, if you want to pick up one of these rifles after you install the mod, you can actually craft this one over at the chemistry station, or alternatively, you can find it out in the world as it is added to the synth leveled lists after level 20. So you should be able to find this in the mid to late game on Institute enemies, which is pretty cool. Now, as far as animations are concerned, this does use the Nuka World AK animations, which fit pretty well on the rifle, but it does mean you are going to have Nuka World in order to use this mod, which at this point in time, this late into Fallout 4's life cycle, I think most people should be okay in that regard. But there is one small thing. There is only a left-handed version of this rifle, so since it does use those Nuka World AK animations, if you have a reanimation mod, it will actually apply to this weapon, and since there is no right-handed version at the moment, that can lead to some weird stuff, especially if you're like me and you were using the right-handed animations. You'll get some funky stuff going on with this rifle. Nothing too crazy, but maybe we'll see a right-handed version sometime in the future that features a mirrored receiver so that you can use either version depending on which animation setup you have in your own load order. Now, if you haven't been on the Nexus lately or you haven't been watching my other mod reviews, Mikolov has been going crazy on these Institute weapons, and apparently this weapon is going to be included in an even larger overhaul. And this makes a whole lot of sense since we've seen a lot of Institute weapons coming out from Mikolov recently. And much like those ones, this one uses a lot of vanilla assets and textures, so any retextures you apply will affect this weapon, which is pretty cool. If you have a black retexture for the Institute weapons, this gun will be black. If you have it chrome, then this gun will be chrome. Additionally, because it does use vanilla textures, this is compatible with all of the Creation Club weapon skins, so if you want to apply any of those, you can do that as well. Alright, I think that covers most of the basic stuff. Let's go ahead and take this rifle in-game and check out some of its finer details, starting off with its stats. So here we have the basic version of the Institute EM rifle with no perks and no attachments. This thing has a base ballistic damage of 32 with a little bit of energy damage of 10, and interestingly enough, an additional 20 radiation damage. This thing uses the 2mm EC charges, has a fire rate of 40 in semi-automatic, a range of 131, an accuracy of 72, a weight of a whopping 14.4 pounds, which is a bit heavy for a pretty much solid plastic rifle like this, but it is intended to be used in the later game, so I get having a big weight like that. And additionally, this thing has a value of 164 caps. Altogether, pretty balanced in my opinion, especially for the time that you start finding this thing, but you can upgrade these stats even further with weapon attachments over at the Workbench. Now, I know I said this thing uses vanilla animations, but I still want to show them off. That way you can see if there's any clipping or issues that you don't want to have in your load order. That is the purpose of these mod reviews after all. So we'll go ahead and fire this thing, and by the way, I really love the firing sound of this weapon. Keep in mind this is the vanilla Nuka World AK animation, but there are a couple of clipping issues we'll talk about in just a second. So the most notable one right off the bat is that your hand does clip in with the mag well just a little bit, and in my opinion that's not that huge of a deal, but something that is a little bit more noticeable to my eye, I don't know if the camera picks it up very well, but the bolt here actually kind of intersects with the rest of the weapon. As we fire, you can see a splash of red moving through the dial and some of the receiver. That's probably something that could be tweaked very easily, but maybe it's not. Using vanilla assets is pretty rough, and so you do run into some issues like that occasionally. It's not that big of a deal, it's just something I wanted to point out, as if you're trying to download this mod, this may be something that bothers you, but maybe it isn't. For me, it's not that big a deal, and this is still a really cool rifle. Now, while we're here, I do want to show off one other thing, which is the automatic receiver. I just really like this thing, and the firing sound on it is very intimidating and beefy, perfect for a mid to late game Gauss rifle. Yeah, not much to say about it. I just think it's really cool. Now, as mentioned previously, this weapon is craftable at the chemistry station, so if you don't want to hunt this thing down on the Institute leveled list, you can head over to any chemistry station and find the new category known as the Institute EM rifle. Head in there and you'll be able to craft this thing for 3 circuitry, 6 copper, 10 plastic, and 6 screws, and you need to have science rank 2. I'm pretty sure that you could get this a bit earlier than you would normally find it in the leveled list, but it's still pretty cool to have the option to craft it if you want to get your hands on this thing even sooner. Now then, let's talk about attachments over at the weapons workbench. There isn't a ton here, but there is just enough to do exactly what you need this rifle to do. For the receiver section, we have your standard up through advanced, which is going to give you a maximum ballistic damage of 68 compared to the starting 32, and it's not going to change any of the other bonus stats like the energy damage or the radiation damage. Now additionally, you can put this thing in automatic and get yourself a powerful automatic receiver, which gives you a nice damage of 41. Now this thing is automatic and it still does more damage than the standard receiver, even without perks, so that's pretty cool. For the barrels, we have options for the standard barrel, the improved barrel, the superior barrel, and the maximum barrel. Each of these is going to actually improve your damage and range. So the maximum barrel is going to get you up to 44 from 32, and you can combine that and stack the damages with the receivers. Then for stocks, we only have 2 options. We have the standard stock and the recoil stock. For the magazine, we have the standard magazine and the large magazine, which, by the way, the magazine design on this gun is really, really cool. And it even features some cool retextured fusion cells down there that fit really, really well with this weapon. Then for the sight section, we have the standard iron sights, a short scope, which is a really, really cool design. I like this one a lot. That looks awesome. We have the reflex sight in glass. We have the reflex sight hologram, which is going to have no glass sight. It's just going to float up above the weapon, so that's pretty cool, very sci-fi. We have a medium scope, a night vision scope, which is a little bit different from the other scope model that has some other sci-fi gubbins on it, and then a medium night vision scope as well. Then finally, for the muzzle section, we have 2 options, the option for no muzzle, and then a compensator. And this is a pretty cool compensator design, using Institute assets in a very, very creative way. I like that a lot. Now then, as is tradition, it is time for the damage test. We'll be testing this weapon 3 times against 3 different Deathclaws as our damage baseline. We'll be starting off with the regular version of the rifle with no attachments and no perks. We'll be testing out a fully upgraded version of the rifle in semi-automatic, and then a fully upgraded version in full automatic. And none of these are going to have perks. This is just going to be the raw stats of the weapon to see how this thing will perform when you first pick it up. So then, let's start off aiming for the Deathclaw's weak point with the basic version of the rifle. Let's see how this thing does. Not too bad. Deathclaw goes down in only 15 shots. That is pretty formidable considering this thing has no attachments on it. Let's see how it does though when it's fully upgraded. This is the fully automatic. Let's grab the semi-automatic and see how it does. And that Deathclaw goes down in only 6 shots. Math checks out there. This thing is definitely far more powerful than the regular version, which is to be expected. Now then, let's see how it does in full auto. This is going to be more shots, but it's probably going to have a much faster time to kill. Yeah, I would definitely say so. That Deathclaw went down in about 11 shots, but it went down really, really fast. So I think full auto is definitely the way to go, especially if you scale into it with perks. So yeah, guys, that is the Institute EM rifle by Mikolov, another cool addition to the Institute arsenal. Mikolov has been absolutely killing it, and the Institute definitely needs the extra love and attention. So awesome stuff, and I look forward to what he works on next. If you want to pick up this mod, it will be linked down in the description below, and it's available for not only PC, but Xbox as well. Stay tuned for updates, as this mod may get some other content in the future, but until then, I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating, it really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons, and a very special thank you to all of my Tier 3 patrons. So big thanks to Captain Chaos, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie, Noid, Cushy, Logan Rig, Maiden, Microhan, Moonlit Gamer, Officials, Effexer, Feed, Timmy76, Youth RC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace!